Hi there, and a very warm welcome to this week's quick tip. Well, I don't know if it's a quick tip this week, it might be a long tip. This week we are continuing our exploration of Diamond Land. This means we will be going more in depth into the characteristics of diamonds and how to do a product visualization. So by the end of the session we will have modeled our own diamond with a perfect, brilliant cut. In the real world, cutting is never perfect, but in our 3D scene we have the chance to cut a diamond to an almost perfect degree. And this we will do today. So let's get started. So, first point here, the cut. There are basically endless variations of cuts for gemstones out there, but we will be talking about the brilliant cut today. There's even variations on the brilliant cut, but this is sort of an average cut that I will call good enough. So, why is the cut so important? With diamonds, we are looking for a nice sparkly gemstone that also has some fire. Fire is the gemstone people speak for the sparkliness in different colors. So when we talk about in 3D terms, we call this dispersion or aberration. And this is basically a fancy prism effect. As you can see in the animation playing in the background, as the diamond is usually put inside of a ring in the way that the ground faces upwards, all light that enters the diamond comes from above. To make this diamond very sparkly, it is important that it is shaped in a way that all the light coming from above inside the stone also leaves the stone through the crown, meaning minor light leakage throughout the bottom part of the diamond. So if there's no energy lost through the bottom, all the energy is leaving through the top again, and this together with the facets that emphasize the dispersion, we are getting a lot of bright and contrasty sparkling going on. And this is exactly what the initial gemstone makers were looking for when they invented this shape. So, before we start modeling, let's have a look at our reference right here. Reference is labeled with 100% at the width of the diamond. Means we are not dealing with scene units, but with percentage units and a couple angles here to create our diamond. My approach for this model is to create splines where the point match up segments of the diamond and then later on with snapping put polygons on those segments, creating our polygon diamond. Before we start in Cinema 4D, there's one more thing I need to do, and this is going to and therefore to units and then to right scale, set this units to millimeters. Do this because diamonds are more of the lower scale models. Setting the units to millimeters gives us more precision in the input. Won't be modeling our diamond completely to scale, but that doesn't matter since we can scale it smaller anyways. Alright, so let's start up with the first spline. For all of the construction, we will be using n-side splines, so let's create one n-side spline and then go from there. Here we go. Let's lay it on the XZ axis, so it lays down on the world, so to speak. And if you go around the diamond and count the segments, you end up with 16. Next, since I'm a little bit lazy and I don't want to do a lot of math, I want to go with 100 units across here so the percentage values match up with the units. So let's do this. Since we are having a radius here, we want to halve that units and type in 50. So we have 100 units across here. Hit S to center the view to the selected object here, and next we want to go with the angles. To display the angles, we are going with some lines. Since Cinema 4D doesn't have any line spline tool, there's a trick here. So you can duplicate the end side and type 2 in the sides, and this will basically create a line. And I didn't know that, and when I was shown that, I was mind blown. So let's move that 50 units to the side so it matches our circumference here. And then duplicate that once more for the other angle. and then type in the angles. So for the upper angle, it's 33.9, and for the lower angle, it's 40.75. Here we go. So now if I go to the side view here and also hit S, so what I want to do is extend those lower angle until it reaches the y-axis. So let's do this. And this looks okay. So we could do all the math with trigonometry, but since I mentioned I'm a little bit lazy, we will do that by mixing and matching. Meaning I will wiggle around the position of splines until it looks good and it's good enough. And that's a thing you will hear me say quite a lot in the next couple of minutes. Okay, let me be of a good example here and actually rename our splines to the according names. And then create our crown by duplicating the diamond width and calling it crown. And also moving it up a little bit, but to know where to move, we first need to decide on the radius. And since we are going with 100 units, it's very simple. We just type in 56 divided by 2. And then we mix and match our position. So the right position is where the spline here intersects with the angle spline. Something like that. And here we go. Good enough. Also, if we pop into our 3D view real quick, the top segments of our diamond are 8, so half of the 16. Here we go. So popping back into the side view here, you can see we are now having the basic shape of our diamond. What is missing are now the facets. So let's create those. One by just duplicating the crown here. And what we want to do here is go into perspective once more and shift this around by half a facet. So I already know the angle and it's 22.5. So if we look at that from the top, you can see it's offset by half a facet. And this is what we need. For those facets here, there's no value in percent. I modeled this diamond before. I already know the value, and it's 30. So that it's matching the value of the y-axis. To try this on your own without my values, what you could do is download this image and put it as a background image for the side view and then model to that. Up the construction phase here of the diamond, let's actually bring down value again, and it's 12. Mixing and matching again. Thing like this. 33.5. Okay. To rename. Finally at the stage where we can place our polygons. To get this working, I want to do two things. First of all, I want to create an empty polygon. I go to create mesh, empty polygon. And second of all, I want to enable snapping because we want to snap to the points on the spline. And this is only possible with snapping enabled. Alright, and we are good to go to place our polygons. So let's have a look at our segments or facets here. And we can see we have a center facet that is a quad here. So let's try to do that. We can do that by going to ME and create our polygon pen here. And with our polygon here selected, we can start creating polygons on the points provided by our spline. Here we go. And now we have created our first polygon for our diamond. Next, what I want to do is those triangles on the left and right side here. So we can continue. 1, 2, 3. And 1, 2, 3. Here we go. So if we look at the lower side, we have a very elongated quad here. And let's do this on our model. So we start up here, then go through the segment of our middle spline here. And then we have same triangles right and left as we had on top. Here we go. Now there's one polygon left we need to make, and this is the triangle here. Since we've done that, we basically created one segment of our diamond. We want to rotate this segment all around here. And to do that, I want to use an array. So let's do this by making sure our polygon is selected, then going to our tools here, and by hitting Alt, select the array. And this will encapsulate the polygon inside of the array, and this is what we want. Now the array is rather big, but we want it to be middled out in the center. So what we need to do is get the radius to 0. And actually the array has the right amount of copies here preset to make our diamond work. Nice. To finish this up, I want to hit C on the array to convert it into polygons. This will give us a lot of objects, but if we right click, we can connect objects and delete. Here we go. And then call this diamond. Delete the array null. And what we need to do now, since our points are not connected right now, we need to optimize first. So let's go right click, optimize, and then hit MD to create our upper polygon for closing up our diamond. Let's create a couple of finishing touches here. So as you might have seen in our reference here, we have this kind of bezel on the side here. So let's create one of those here too, and go for that to the side view again and select all the polygons on the top. And by hitting Ctrl and moving, you can create a duplicate, so you extruding those upwards. And by also hitting Shift, you can quantize them. So I want to quantize them by 2. Here we go. And if we go back to our 3D view, we have this bezel. Now this bezel is faceted. You can leave it like this, but in my original diamond that I use all the time, I have rounded this out. So let's do this also by boolean that bezel away a little bit. So what I want to do is first want to extend the kind of poly side outwards here a little bit. To do that, I want to go to a ring selection, so hit UL, here we go. And then I want to extrude that out a little bit, so I hit D and extrude it by 0.5 maybe, or let's say 0.7. Next, there is a little bit of mixing and matching again, so I want to go into my side view once more. And what I actually want to do here is move our splines for the angles in a way so they match the new behavior here with our elongated bezel. So let's find those angles and then move them about until they sort of match both sides. Here we go. And this is exactly what I want. So what I want to do here is then match this newly created polygon to reflect our angles. So let's shrink that down. Now you can see those angles are too shallow. We want them to be ending here. So we will scale them up a little bit till they match up with the end here. And then we will move them up a little bit, so 1.1 maybe. And I would say this is really close enough. Okay, so we've done that in order to be able to bool away the bezel a little bit better. So let's go into perspective view and actually create a tube. And we want to make the inside of the tube exactly 50, and it's already exactly 50, so we're good. Now, what we want to do is increase the segments here, because right now the segments are exactly the same segments that we have for our diamond, and we want to make it appear round. So what we need to do is get in the rotational segments and increase those quite a bit, namely 512. Here we go. Now it looks really round. And then, of course, we want to select the diamond, create a bool, hit Alt, and then move the tube underneath the diamond, and that will create something like this. Now, if we go to Mesh View and B, you can see that the bool is creating nice segments here. What you've also seen is that our segments on our diamond sort of vanished, and this is because of the Phong angle here. So if we delete that off of the tube, the segments come back. And now we can select our bool, say create single object. I have presetted this because I always need it, and then hit the C key again to convert our diamond. Also name it accordingly. So last but not least, what we could do with our diamond is to get rid of those edges here, those extra edges, and I will do that real quick. So now that we've finished modeling our diamond, there's one question left to answer, and this is: how good is our model? How cut out is this diamond for production use? Pun intended. I of course had the same question when I modeled my first diamond a long time ago. So I did some research back then and I stumbled on something. So this is kind of a proofing tool for diamonds. Basically, it's a magnifying glass that you can put your diamonds under, and based on the angle there's different colored lights coming in from the surrounding lighting of your scene. And based on that you can see different patterns, and this then informs you of the quality of your diamond. So if the pattern is very straight, you have a superior diamond, and if it's slightly mixed up, you have an average diamond, and so on. So I thought to myself, well, those angles are already there, why not build such a scene in 3D? So I did. Here we go. So what I did was a very basic scene with the same angles and the same colors. And to prove that I can do the same thing, I downloaded a real-world model of a diamond. So like in photogrammetry, there are real-world diamonds scanned in, so people can look at them in the computer and see how good the cut of the diamond is. So I downloaded this kind of mix of superior and average quality diamonds, so it's something in between those. And when we go to the camera here and render, you can see this is correct. So the shape is kind of very symmetrical, but there are slight issues to it, so it's not completely superior like it said in the description when I downloaded it. So this was the moment I was kind of sure I had something to prove the quality of my diamonds. So let's do this with our diamond and bring our diamond into this scene here. Now this diamond is a little bit big, so let's scale it smaller. And scaling doesn't matter with diamonds as long as it's proportional. Let's actually go to the side view and make sure our diamond is above the ground, otherwise it won't give us the right results and it would look as if it was not cut correctly. Alright, last but not least, we want to give it our diamond material. So this diamond material is a very simple material. It has no fire, so no chromatic aberration, but it has the right refraction. So the refraction of a normal diamond is 2.417, and I type that in here. Now let's turn off our measured diamond here and go back to our perspective and to our camera. And now let's see what we did here. That looks kind of perfect. So if we compare that to our result here, you can see that our diamond is very closely matching what in the brochure is marked as a superior diamond. So congratulations, you just modeled your own superior diamond. In the next part of this diamond series, we will be talking about the materials of the diamond inside of Octane, how to get the correct IOR, and how to calculate the dispersion value that you need to put in to get the colored reflections that are so nice to look at with diamonds. This was a long video this week again, so hopefully you liked it. Let me know what you think about this serious idea in the comments. And also, I'm always happy to read about ideas and suggestions for future tutorials. To not make this longer, that leaves me with my last words. Thank you very much for staying with me for so long. Thank you for watching and happy modeling. Bye!